Welcome to Football 301. The voice you hear that is usually Nate Tice is one, Charles McDonald. Nate is out on paternity leave. He's about to have a new baby. So I am commandeering the show today to talk to my friend Bomani Jones. Stick around later in the show as Nate, Matt Harmon, and I rank the top 10 defenders heading into the 2025 season. Bomani, thank you for joining the show today. How you doing, man?
Man, all good. I mean, Nate, once again, reaffirming that they let anybody do that.
Not just do that.
No
In a very short amount of time, he's popping out too. So he's
right.
about to have his handfuls.
Okay. Hey, man, look, like I say, it's amazing how low the prerequisites are for the ability to bring life into the world. Anybody can do it. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, you don't even need to be that good at it, honestly.
Nope. Nope. Just need to be a little bit slow, a little bit late. Boom. There you go.
Speaking of a little bit slow, it's June. Covering the NFL, there's thank you. There's not too much going on right now, which is nice because it gives us a chance to just survey a handful of topics. And I'm going to throw a few at you. I want you to pick a couple that we're going to talk about. And then we're going to get into a conversation about Shedeur Sanders a little bit later. But a topics I have for you. There's I think there's a funny thing in the NFL, in the NBA right now where people are talking about market size. And as someone who is NFL brained, the idea of choosing whether or not you're going to watch the finals based on market size is kind of crazy to me. That's one. Two, do we care about Dak Prescott and his legacy talk? Because there's been a bunch of that this week. Three, any thoughts on the Bengals and Shemar Stewart situation? Four, thoughts on Ashton Hall, the meme water guy who was splashing water in his face, getting smoked by another streamer in a race. And five, just Aaron Rodgers joining the Steelers actually make them a more interesting team.
Okay. I actually have to say that is a pretty interesting collection of topics that you had. I had four of them that I found to be interesting. Remind me what the first and second one were.
The first and second one were market size. Is it kind of crazy that people are choosing that they're going to watch these games whether or not they care about the series involved? Because imagine looking at the AFC title game last year and saying it's Buffalo versus Kansas City. Who gives a crap about that?
Yeah,
that's let's jump. To me.
So let's jump on that one, right? Because I do think that it is interesting, but I think a lot of the success of the NFL is not because of anybody's particular genius, right? And a significant part of it has but so much to do with the actual game of football itself. It is everyone's good fortune that game is so goddamn violent that you can only play once a week, right? And everybody plays it on Saturday. I mean, on Sunday. Like, college is on Saturday, NFL is on Sunday. And like those of us who work in the general sports world you fall off of college football over the years as you get older because you have to take you got to have one day, like especially the married dudes. Yeah, like the married dudes, like, look, man, you got to pick one or you got to pick the other. But the nature of how the NFL works and the nature of the national television broadcast in 4:30 and at 8 o'clock or 4:15 and 8 o'clock. The league can sell a league rather than so much selling individual teams. Now, there are national teams, but it's interesting. The Packers, we would say, are a national team. The Steelers, we would say, are a national team. Obviously, the Cowboys are a national team. And that sneaky one, the Raiders, right?
Yes,
like these are, right? Like these, like the Raiders are the Raiders transcend city. They're just like, we'll just move anywhere and people, our people will show up. But those are national brands. Everywhere else, they are really, by and large, without, a couple of exceptions, that is, but those are the four big ones that jump out. They're kind of local regional brands, but since everybody's watching on Sunday and the games are so few, everything feels a certain way. On top of that, the biggest games are going on in the dead of cold, right? Ain't nobody really got nowhere to go. They laying up around the crib, like during that time. So you get invested in a manageable story because there's so few games. And then they whittle off the teams to the place where, when the Super Bowl comes around, the AFC Championship game comes around, you watch because that's what you do at that given point in time. Every other sport has a certain dependence for the television performance of their finals on who's in it. The World Series, it's really almost entirely determined what the audience is going to be based on the size of the markets of the teams who are there. I don't think that anybody that really cares about basketball is like, it's Oklahoma City and Indiana, I'm not going to watch that. What I think has happened is throughout this year, people just haven't watched those teams. They have not had the appeal of it. So when you talk about it in the context of television, then yeah, the baseline for a television audience is going to be the local market, and then you sprinkle on top of that. Toronto is a fairly large market, but it is a death sentence to American television because Toronto's televisions don't count on American ratings, right? So it doesn't matter how many people are. Everybody in Canada could be watching it. The league itself doesn't care. But I do think that the NBA has a couple, like 3 maybe, like national type of brands, but like in the NFL, the Patriots did not become a national brand after they won all those championships. The Bulls somehow completely stopped mattering to any of all those Bulls fans. For those of us who were of the age to remember the Jordan era, Jordan left, all the people went with him. It was like they were never there. The NFL, for whatever reason, doesn't work like that. NBA fans are typically more like attracted to players. But I think for Oklahoma City, for example, they're going to be in this for a long time, I believe.
Right.
And I think that we will see their numbers pick up because I know when they had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, they were actually a huge television draw in spite of the fact that they were in what has to be one of the 3 smallest markets in the NBA.
Yeah, because I was at a cookout for the final game of Pacers-Knicks, and everyone after the game was over, like, oh, the Pacers, like, man, I'm not gonna watch the Pacers versus the Thunder in the finals. And I'm like, guys, y'all know, like, Shea is 26 and Jalen Williams is 23 and Chet is like 24, in that range. The oldest player on the team is Al Caruso. He just turned 31 in February. So like, are you gonna bail on this for a couple of years? Because they're not going anywhere.
This is a cycle that the internet has produced in social media in large part. Like, a frustration I have now when people talk about rap is people talk about rap like they shareholders in the record company.
Streaming numbers.
Right? Like they out here rattling off how many platinum plaques and sales and first week and stuff like that. Like, bro, I thought you was here to listen to music. You understand what I'm saying? And so when it comes to this ratings discussion, I think it winds up being a bit of a feedback loop because, yes, if you were particularly around for the David Stern era, you can laugh at the idea of how frustrated he would be at the idea of a Pacers Thunder final, right? Like, his line was his dream finals every year would be the Lakers and the Lakers. Like this is, so there's a humor that I think that people who follow the league and actually like it can have about this. But then there's also another wing of people on the other side that become fiercely protective of the league because there's always so many bad faith arguments that are made against it. But if you were to say, I'm not going to watch it because it is those franchises, that is taking the rooting for laundry thing to a completely different level. What I wonder about and hope for to a degree is that just because it helps the larger discussion that people have watched these teams and now they have some sort of sensation about them. Because, like, if I were still doing daily television, for example, I started doing daily TV when LeBron was in Miami, and we could talk about every single Miami Heat game. It was amazing. By the way, Miami, not the large market that people think it is. But we could do that, and then from there you could spill out and you could talk about the rest of the league. Hopefully there'll be enough people that watch, say, Oklahoma City and Indiana, that as we get farther into the year, you can fuel, call it a first take, by talking about what's going on with the Pacers because people saw them play in the finals. Or again, the Thunder are going to be here for a really long time. Like, people are going to develop opinions about them. But I think the internet has made, I said the thing about social media generally, but Twitter in particular when it first dropped, my point was it allowed famous people to act like regular people. And that was kind of their way to make a connection. It allowed regular people to act like famous people in the worst ways, or perhaps worse than saying they act like famous people, regular people to think they're brands. And so everybody really comes out there thinking with business brain. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it is weird. Everyone's trying to like platform themselves. They're like, bro, I'm just here to tweet for the most part. just to get these takes off.
And those days are over. Like, as somebody who I think I use leverage that platform to make a pretty nice living for myself in a number of ways. Bro, those days are gone. Ain't nobody getting on like that.
Yeah. I mean, I never took a journalism class in my whole life, but I got on Twitter and I figured it out. And I feel like because I got younger kids asking me, well, how do I break in? I don't know.
I don't know, Jay, but it's a whole new game. Maybe ask me all kinds. Well, the other one that asked me is like, do you have any internships? Brother, I'm a person. No, I do not have an internship. No, I don't know who does. I don't know who gives away the internships. I'm 45 years old. That's the most irrelevant piece of information for my own life. I have absolutely no idea. But yeah, they're like, you got any advice for me on how to break into the game? Be good. That's all I got. Be good.
Yeah. That's what I would be telling Shedeur Sanders right now as we try to figure out if he's going to make this Browns team right now. That is one thing I really wanted to talk to you about. Are you surprised that people are still at this level of fervor, even though we've seen him be a 5th-round pick?
So it's interesting.
I thought it would die off a little bit.
Well, I hate to tie everything back to my doom and gloom feelings about the internet, but I do think that this is where the algorithmic loop comes into play, which is the algorithm rewards stories that people think are interesting. And thereby people keep feeding the algorithm the stories that they know the algorithm likes and will spit back out. And for whatever reason, he does it, right? Like he is for someone who has not demonstrated himself to be interesting at all, he really, really like captivates people. I think he's going to make the team.
Yeah,
I would be surprised if he did not make the team. I think the question to ask is really about those 2 old guys. Like, and I guess really they have one old guy in Kenny Pickett. That's unfair to Kenny Pickett. But there's no reason to have 2 of those on the team. Joe Flacco was really, really popular up that way. Like he was so popular that I don't think they could have brought him back last year because they would have had a real issue before Watson got hurt. You'd have, we've talked about, I've talked about this, about quarterbacks and black ups, and that you needed to have a black up for Deshaun Watson. And Joe Flacco, after he went out there and didn't play well, but they won a bunch of games, it was a good time. It was vibes, right? Come on, man. What are we still doing here? So you take Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. I assume that he will be on the team. And then I assume it will be one of the 2 older guys. If you think Kenny Pickett has a chance, then maybe it's him. I see no reason for Joe Flacco to be playing for your team at this point. Like this is, they were begging for him to take the job for Anthony Richardson last year. And nope, it wasn't a go. So I think Shedeur makes it. Somebody traded draft capital to go get him. It wasn't the most draft capital in the world, but they didn't just let him fall to them. Somebody made a concerted effort to go get him. And I think that if he plays better than Dillon Gabriel, then he'll get on the field before Dillon Gabriel. Like I had a lot of people jump down my throat about this, where I don't think him going in the 5th round rather than the 3rd round matters that much. I think him going in the 5th round rather than call it the 2nd round, that matters. Second round picks are intended to be starters, right? 3rd round picks,
we'll see.
We'd like to get you out there. We'd like to see you do some things, but I don't believe for a second that the margins are wide enough that the difference between Dillon Gabriel being a 3rd round pick and Shedeur Sanders being a 5th round pick is that important. Now, if you want to make the point that Dillon Gabriel being a 3rd round pick is a reflection that somebody up there really likes him, now we're having a different discussion. But it's not simply about the fact that Shedeur went in the 5th round. No, I think he winds up on that team.
Yeah, and I the one thing I will give the people who are fascinated by Shedeur for whatever reason, whether it's his play, I guess last year was kind of fun. If you're just like a guy who grew up like loving Deion Sanders and pass that love on down to your kids, I can see why you're like that. The one thing I will give them is you're looking at this quarterback room. If you're a fan of Shedeur and say, why can't he go beat Dillon Gabriel or Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett? So I do understand that part of it, right? Because why not? Why couldn't he be a Brown starter in October or November?
That looks like a quarterback room where everyone will get a chance to start. and I don't mean that in no good way. Everybody, what is the difference between trying any of these out here on the field in terms of the bottom line? Like, I don't pretend that I watch Kenny Pickett that closely. But was there any cause for optimism? Because when I saw what was going on, I didn't see it at all.
No, I mean, he got to play with a really good team for a couple games with the Eagles last year. Still looked like Kenny Pickett, just on a really good team. So, yeah.
Hey, man, I feel like is axiomatic. If you want to take a quarterback in the top 10, fine. If you want to take a quarterback between 10 and 20 or 10 and 19, that's cool. You want to take a quarterback with like the very last pick in the first round and anything after that, knock yourself out. You take a quarterback in the 20s, he stinks.
Except Lamar Jackson. He's like the only
32.
one.
32.
Okay, 32. That's right.
32.
That's right.
So I engineered that in. But you think about it. Every time somebody takes a quarterback, like who's that? The Giants took Jackson Dart.
Right.
You might as well have waited, man, because now he's going to stink. And so if you take him at the first pick of the second round, like Carolina did with Jimmy Clausen in the year of our Lord 2010, that does not stop you from taking. That's right. And it don't stop you from taking Superman in the next draft. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's the whole Shedeur Sanders thing has been really interesting to me because I'm not gonna lie. At first, I thought it was like, is this just like a Two Americas thing where I'm talking to all my friends about Shedeur Sanders and they're freaking out? And then last week, I saw some ESPN radio host in Cleveland screaming, like belligerently furious, that Shedeur needs quarterback one reps with the Browns. I'm like, y'all, it's June. They've only had minicamp and rookie minicamp.
Well, yeah, but he's in Cleveland, right?
Yeah,
like you can always get it cracking talking about the Browns. Like that's the thing about this is covering football on a national level. You're looking at it and you're kind of like, hey, we don't really have that much news to help dictate what we're talking about. I mean, I guess just hypothetically, I guess we'll do an NFC North preview or whatever. But if you're in a market like Cleveland, there is no time that you can't get it going by talking about the Browns, right? And so what they have there is a guy whose name rings out, who people are very, very familiar with, which I think is not really the case with college players as it was in the past, right? Just because there's so much going on and attention is more distracted. So you got somebody, black quarterbacks are still a fairly provocative notion, right? So you got like the subtext that comes along with him, and not just a black quarterback, but one who the word on the street was acting a bit of a donkey when he went and did all these interviews and stuff. He done tightened it up since then, right? Everything I've heard him say in those interviews, it ain't none of that. Don't draft me if you don't want to change the culture. He just in there blending in, fitting in with the homies now. But it's going to keep people going for a long time. Like, you don't have anymore a lot of honest to God quarterback controversies in training camp. Like, who's going to be the starter? We don't really have that. Like, even where there's questions about whether the young guy is going to start, you know the young guy is eventually going to start. This one is honestly, there's a why not on every one of the guys that they have there. So there's suspense in terms of who is going to lead them into last place.
Yeah, that is the kicker for all of this, because not only are the Browns, they're going to stink this year, but they have the Jaguars first round pick in next year's draft. Like, they're drafting a quarterback next year.
Yes, that was an amazingly lucky trade. That, I mean,
yeah.
Jacksonville is going, or they have done this. They have bought a Rolls Royce. They have bought a Ferrari, and they're going to drive it 100 miles each way to work every day. Every day. That's what they did. They traded up to run that boy into the ground. I don't know when they're going to get hip, but the only way that trade made sense is if you think you have a legitimate Pro Bowl two-way player. And even trying to do that is incredibly stupid. As far as I'm
excited to see them try, though. You know?
I mean, you're gonna be excited until he out here tearing up his hamstrings or whatever else. Now, it does look like, I done seen the clips of him in training camp. That boy can't stay still. Like, apparently maybe that's why Colorado put him out there to play wide receiver. Like, man, get him away from me, dog. You're making me feel weird.
My good friend John Shipley, who covers the Jaguars, he's been saying that Travis has been in second team on defense and first team on offense, which is like, man, why are we wasting time on that? Let's just get first team both ways. Right. Let's figure it out. Because if we're going to drive the Ferrari 100 miles per hour, I'm putting my pedals in the metal.
So my thing is, I think he could be one of a few good wide receivers. Like, I don't have the greatest eye for this, but that's for me watching him at Colorado. He looked like a Pro Bowl corner, like, today. So I'm a little surprised that it's gone on that level. But on the other hand, they got a quarterback that the heat has finally come to. And it is very interesting because I take a guy like Matthew Stafford, the heat never came. No number one pick has ever existed under less pressure while being a number one overall pick that people were forecasting in that place as he was a junior in high school.
Yep.
Two-time Pro Bowler Matthew Stafford, or did he finally get to the third? Either way, it's one of those, but he never got the weight. It's always people telling you he's better than you think. How does that work with former number one overall pick? We've been waiting on it since he was at Georgia. Now people are looking at Trevor Lawrence like, hey, it's about time to get it done, young man. And so maybe that's it. You give him Travis Hunter, and we go from there.
Dude, that's a funny-ass point because I kind of thought that once Trevor got to Jacksonville, people would just kind of stop being interested in him. And it hasn't been like maybe the most fervorous thing. Maybe, I don't know. Online is kind of bad, but outside, I don't really know if people have too many opinions about him. But that's a good comparison between him and Matthew Stafford because Stafford, no one gave a crap that he was just up there. Calvin Johnson for a couple years and then forgot about him until he got to the Rams for a little bit.
And all this talk about, well, he played for the Lions. He played with Calvin Johnson. Like he had that one year, the 2011 year where all the stats were spiked, right? Yeah. And he had that really good year and he threw for 5,000 yards. He has been a good to very good NFL quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I like him a lot.
Normally, first overall picks have to answer a lot more questions. Even Andrew Luck took more questions about things. And Andrew Luck was out there by and large playing for Dolo. The other thing for Trevor Lawrence that remains fascinating is, man, that draft, weird. That's the post-COVID draft, the 2021 post-COVID draft, right? So all the guys who sat out, like Penei Sewell, Micah Parsons, Jamar Chase worked out pretty well. All those guys who played, man, and make you wonder if they all caught it and it stuck with them. Like it all went funny.
that was supposed to be the quarterback draft too. We got Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones,
and none of those guys, none of them were as good as anybody thought that they were going to be. Yeah, okay, hold on. Mac Jones is exactly as good as I thought he was going to be, but Bill Belichick apparently thought it was the other way. You had another topic I wanted to hit because we got a little more time right fast, and it tied into me saying that the Browns are going to finish in last place. I talked to Dominique about this the other day. If the players get to vote for these things, they're going to make Shemar Stewart team captain, right? That man walked in the door and already knew the state of affairs. Like, bro, they ain't even about winning. That man got 17 sacks and they can't even give him his paper. What's really good?
He said, I know I am 100% right. like that, I love it. And from what I've read and from what I understand, it doesn't seem like he's asking for anything more than what Amarius Mims got last year, who was also the 18th pick in the draft to the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't know what's going on here, but I respect it. I respect the stand he's taking.
Do you realize the fortitude you have to have at that age under these circumstances to look at the world and say, I know I'm right, and not like a jerk? He's just like, no, I'm sorry, man. I am on the side of right on this one. They are tripping. I ain't doing this.
I was sitting here wondering, I was like, man, like, why are you guys hardballing, Shemar and Trey? You're trying to win a Super Bowl, right? And then it's the Bengals.
That's what they've always look. The team of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, because I do feel like while Joe Burrow is my guy, I have lots of good things to say about him. He is a very good quarterback, but we ain't never seen him do it for Dolo, right? It has been the team of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and they are so good that for a little while, we forgot that these were the Cincinnati Bengals, right? And before Burrow got drafted, I was on TV like, hey, bro, don't go there. And the Cincinnati people were all mad. Why would he not come here? Y'all know goddamn well why he wouldn't come here. Y'all be rooting for this team. Y'all used to have them dudes reusing jock straps. You out here asking me why he shouldn't come here. Look around you right now. Look around you right now. You know what I'm saying? And they going to score like 60 points a game next year, and they going to give up 63.
Big 12 ball. Yeah.
Yes, that is exactly what they're going to be out there playing. They're going to be playing 2013 Big 12 football.
Oh, man. So I guess that answers the question. Does Aaron Rodgers joining the Steelers actually make them more interesting?
It does. It does. It does.
I just want to get a pop shot.
Yeah. But no, let me tell you. Here's why I find that to be interesting. Aaron Rodgers is an eccentric, but he's not a fool. And I think he knows ain't but so much he can get away with up there. Like, he's going to say he says all that snide stuff and does it when and where he can get away with it. I think he knows he can't get away with it up there. And I think this is a big thing. I think Aaron Rodgers cares a lot about what we think. And the way it went with the Jets, back in the day, that's when somebody retires. Like, that's the end of it. He has made the decision. Yeah, he's made the decision he's not going out like this. Look, the list of quarterbacks who didn't go out like that is incredibly short. It is basically Roger Staubach, John Elway, and in a lesser degree, Phillip Rivers. But like, even Peyton Manning walked out with a ring, but boy, did he look terrible.
Yeah,
got benched for Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, Tom Brady had a nice little end because they had the game against the Rams where he threw for 1,000,000 yards, but Stafford and Kupp got him at the end.
You're right.
It's small, though.
It's small, man. Like, you chasing boxers. Most of them go out, like, just they try to hit for one more lick, right? Just try to get another chance, and they go out there and they get it. And so he makes them more interesting because the stakes are so high for everybody. You know, there's the legitimately fair case of you keep making the playoffs, but you don't win playoff games, though I think making the playoffs of some of these rosters has been incredible enough. Like, it's kind of like Marvin Lewis. You didn't win a playoff game with Andy Dalton, and it's like, say that again. Like, I feel like you're going to get to the bottom of this right before I even have to say a word if you just say that one more time. Yeah. So, no, we're going to see what this is, because the other thing, too, and you know actual football way better than I do. You could put together a nice little package of Aaron Rodgers plays from last year that looked like Aaron Rodgers.
Dude, the back half of the season, he was kind of all right. And I do think the fact that he cares so much about making this work, it does make it a little bit more interesting. But, man, I still look at them and see, like, Baltimore. Like, how do you stack up? Well, they did beat Baltimore one time last year. And then once it got to, like, the actual games that mattered, they got stampeded. So, I don't know. They're just kind of an interesting place because I do think, I agree with you. There's still some clips from last year where Aaron Rodgers still looks pretty good. But I don't know. He's 41 now.
We're going to find out if Lamar Jackson, he had been on a Rocky montage off season. Like, this would be the year, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, running hills, everything else. Like, this is after they stole that MVP from him last year. Like, I don't know how much he cares about that, but I don't think we talk nearly enough about the fact that they literally gave Josh Allen MVP, or they gave Lamar Jackson first team All-Pro.
Yeah.
One of them didn't deserve it. You can't make the argument that they both did, right? One of them did not. It is Lamar Jackson the kind of petty to be like,
that's what made me so damn mad. How is the MVP not going to be a first-team All-Pro?
Look, let me tell you something, man. My father is 88 years old, and he doesn't really follow this stuff as much as he used to. I can only imagine if this were 15, 20 years ago, and Lamar Jackson was the first-team All-Pro, but they gave the MVP to Josh Allen. He'd have been up in arms like he was that day when they turned on Monday Night Football and they thought Jefferson Street Joe Gilliam was going to be starting, and instead it was Terry Bradshaw. It would have been marching in the streets. It was absurd.
Hey, that's kind of how I felt when I heard Matt Ryan's name get called when I was like 13 years old when they made that pick. I was like, hold up. I thought we were going to run this thing back when Mike got out of jail. No.
You thought that?
That's what I thought at the time. That's what I thought at the time. I was like, let's go take Darren
goodness.
McFadden. Let's take Darren McFadden and go rush for the 3,000 yards when he gets out of jail next year.
I had never considered that anybody would have thought that you would just hold on until Mike got back. I never thought that was a possible scenario.
No. I mean, now as someone in their 30s, it sounds pretty stupid. But at 12 or 13, that was genius.
Yo, shout out to your pops for letting you live that dream, because I'd have stomped on that, like, brother.
Oh, appreciate you coming on, Bill. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Appreciate you, man. Check out The Right Time with Bomani Jones Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts for free.
All right. Be right back after the break with Nate and Matt for our top 10 defenders heading into the 2025 NFL season.